One last minute.
Let's do this every time.
Who's that guy in your shirt?
Holly and Elvis. What's up?
How are you?
Good. Sparring was good today. Training was good.
Wow, that's good.
You feel like the Muhammad Ali of the sport?
I don't know how you felt, so I can't really say.
I mean, you look at the impact he had on the sport at the time he was out there. Do you kind of feel like in some ways he's been parallel?
I'd imagine that we'd have,
Look, you know these
we'd
people that keep
probably
walking
dealt
down?
with similar situations. It's funny, the security camera looks crazy with all you guys in here.
Rhonda, how does this fight differ from all your others?
This one, because Holly's a structured opponent. A lot of times I have to deal with girls I'm fighting that they're not very structured in the way that they fight, and that's what's very different from my Olympic days. Like everyone in judo, they were very structured in the way that they fought. And Holly kind of more reminds me of that level of competition in those days I used to fight. So I feel like I'm gonna have a much more of an opportunity to show everything that I'm really capable of. I feel like I'm really good at a lot of things people haven't seen yet, and I'm gonna be able to show those things to Holly.
How did you prepare for this fight?
How to prepare for this fight? Well, we customize our camp to every opponent, and we tweak some things, you know, specifically for Holly and her style of fighting and how I think that she's gonna try to approach me. And you know, I don't want to give too much away. I'm sure Edwin told you whatever he would want you to know.
Ronda, what do you make of all this? Are you used to this now?
I mean, I can't really be used to it because every time I feel like it's a little bit more. And, you know, I just kind of accept whatever situation I step into, you know. I get used to the idea that it's always going to be different, and I just have to be ready. So I don't think you could ever really be used to it.
Ronda, you wrote in the book how in the past you've been motivated by different failures that you've had. Given that you haven't lost in a long time now, where do you get that motivation from?
I still get it from never winning the Olympics. You know, that was my childhood dream, and I spent my whole life in pursuit of that, and I had to give that up, and I had to really come to terms with the fact that it wasn't for me, and I've always really been heartbroken from that in a way, and a way that I'm still very grateful for, because I think that if I did win the Olympics, I wouldn't have like this never-ending, you know, resource of motivation that I have. I mean, every single time I go out there to defend my title, it's like another chance to redeem myself, but it's never quite an Olympic gold medal, and that's how I really stay motivated.
So is MMA not a big enough thrill for you in comparison to the Olympics?
MMA, I mean, it's not about being a thrill. I think it's the pressure. I mean, you get in judo. I mean, you would train your whole life, and you have one day to be an Olympic champion. That's it. And in MMA or any boxing, any professional combat sport, I mean, you could try to win over and over and over again. You could have title fight after title fight, and eventually, one of those shots you win, you're still a world champion. Whereas Olympics, you have one shot in your whole life, and that's it. It all comes down to one day, and nothing can compare to that pressure.
Hey Ronda, with every fight and every move you do, as your celebrity grows, there's more and more little girls who want to be Ronda Rousey. And there's more and more mothers who might not be familiar with who the champ is. What are your thoughts on that for these little girls who look up to you, and also these mothers who might not be familiar with who you are? What would you say to them?
I mean, I'm very flattered that anyone would... Hold on. Somewhere there's an emergency and I must fight for justice. It's very flattering. I mean, I try to do my best. Sometimes I feel like I'm not infallible enough to really be perfect role model for little girls. I try my best, and that's the best that I could do. And I'm sure some mothers are happy about it and some don't approve, and it's up to them and how they choose to parent and how, whether they would want to encourage that or not.
Rhonda, you wrote that letter just recently that said, "Don't judge me, that this isn't a blood sport." What was it that made you write that now?
It was to a conservative newspaper in Australia that was against the octagon being made legal in Australia, and their argument for it was that MMA, that it promoted brutality and violence and all these kinds of things, and I really felt like it's just a lack of education in the sport, and it not really seen from the perspective of the fighter, and I was just trying to offer the perspective of a fighter to that conservative audience.
Edmund was up here earlier talking a lot about your boxing. I know that you love the UFC and you're going to be with them for a bit, but would you consider taking a boxing match one day and testing yourself against a boxer?
To be honest, my goals are so crazy that what I would really like to do, and I don't know if I have the time, and I just want to do so many things, but I want to be remembered as one of the greatest fighters of all time in any sport, and what I would love to do, I got an Olympic medal. I would want to retire from MMA as one of the greatest of all time. I would love to have a chance to be a boxing world champion. I would love to have a chance to be a jiu-jitsu world champion. And I would love to have a chance to beat the Beavers world champion and just be the best of everything at one point. How that is possible to do, that I'm gonna have to figure that out. But I'm trying to figure that out, and I think if anybody's capable, I think that I am, and I think it's just a matter of prioritizing and timing and figuring out when I can do which when. So I'm figuring it out. I'd love to, but it's a process.
Would you feel like winning this fight would kind of kill two birds with one stone? If you make this a boxing match against a respected boxer, world champion boxer,
I think that this match would help to kind of show some of my striking legitimacy with the boxing crowd, but it's still a different sport, and I think I would only really be able to prove that I could have any respect as a boxer being a boxer in their own sport instead of beating them in mine.
Well, do you think very much about women wanting to have strong bodies rather than skinny bodies? Is that important to you to be a role model for not children like we were talking about earlier, but for young women who want to look kind of toned and healthy rather than skinny and scrawny?
Well, I feel like a small fraction of women's body types are represented in the media, and when I was growing up I didn't really see mine represented at all, and I thought that maybe there was something wrong or undesirable about me, and the standard that I held myself to was what I thought the boys I had crushes on liked, and I wasn't looking at the cover of Cosmo or the Dove magazines, which I love what they're doing, but when I was 13, 14, I have a crush on this kid who has a stack of Maxims in his room. I don't look like any of those Maxim girls, I feel like I have no chance with this kid. I don't look like that, and I feel like there's such thing as I don't want to word this the wrong way, but there's different kind of role models. There's behavioral role models and there's bodily role models, and I really didn't have any healthy bodily role models growing up, and I'm just trying to represent one body type that I feel like really hasn't been shown at all in mainstream media.
Speaking of role models, is it true you're teaching self-defense to Vin Diesel's daughter?
I think she's actually taught me more. I've only been able to meet them through his kids FaceTime and videos, just to say hi, because they're doing judo and they're the most adorable kids ever. And she was showing me some moves, beating up on her dad a little bit, but I definitely owe her a lesson. I've been owing her a lesson for a while, and I've had 3 title fights in 9 months, and so hopefully after this fight I'll be able to have some time and give her a personal armbar lesson so she can, you know, practice on her dad as much as possible.
Obviously, people like Vin Diesel and Jason Statham don't participate in the sport, but they're sort of athletes in their own kind of way. Is there anything you learned from working with people like that on the movies in terms of their work ethic or so on?
Well, they both work very, very hard, you know, and they really taught me that, you know, work ethic is what's important in every profession. And I love that Statham really takes pride in that he's does the most physically demanding things and really tries to, you know, put a lot of time in his body athleticism and his fight scenes and everything like that. And it really it gave me some competition where I'm like, well, I want to be, you know, do as good as Statham in his fight scenes. So he really puts a lot of time and energy into that, and you know, and Vin is and doesn't just put a lot of time and energy into the physical side, but you know, also in the whole acting side and everything like that. And it was very interesting to see his process and how it's so different. Everybody has their own way, you know, and Vin he likes to be very much in that character all the time, whereas some people just, you know, like to be themselves the rest of the day, and then they just kind of dip into it when they have to. And it's very interesting. It reminds me of when I was a little kid and I was learning judo. My mom would drop me off at all these different gyms and all these different styles, and I would just kind of pick up from every style what would work for me. And I'm learning a lot, seeing everybody's method and trying to you know, steal little ideas here and there to see what would help me.
Rhonda, what was your reaction when you read about your mom or saw your mom's comments about having critical ones?
Well, any reaction and response I have from my mother, she's going to hear from me and not a media outlet.
Did she hear it from you? Have you spoken to her about it?
I really don't think that's anybody's business.
You want to talk about the magazine covers you've been on lately? The Ring, you made history.
Well, yeah, I made history. I think I made a lot of people happy and a lot of people angry at the same time. But you know, it's still an honor to be the first MMA fighter on the cover of such a historic magazine. And you know, I only wanted to be on it because of all the respect I do have for the sport, and I do want to, you know, be a positive to it in some way, because it's been such a positive in my life. And we'll see, you know, we'll see how I'm received, really kind of trying to get into that crowd a little bit. But you know, I've really fallen in love with boxing in the process of doing MMA. I stopped doing judo at all. I haven't put a gi on and done any judo since I started doing MMA. I do boxing almost all the time. And it'd be impossible to spend so much time on something and not fall in love with it in a way. And yeah, I don't want to be more involved in the sport. It's not really it's very difficult right now, but we'll see what I can do.
Rhonda, how has your training changed over the years?
How's it changed? I think it's become more customized just to me and with my needs, you know. And when I was doing judo, it was more like the team. It was like one team of people trying to vie for the attention of one coach. And then when I started doing MMA, it was all focused on me, but I was going from gym to gym to gym and trying to get everything that I needed myself every given day. And now it's got to the point where we kind of have like the Ronda machine going, where it's like, this is my schedule and these are the people I'm training, and they show up at my gym at the times that I need them to be there when it fits my, you know, it's much more to my needs and my convenience, instead of trying to find a way to get to the right gym or find a way to get the attention from the coach. And so I'm much more spoiled now, I guess.
With your popularity, has that changed you at all? I mean, is it more pressure to perform and
well,
your
it's
level?
More pressure to perform all the time, and it's a
How
good
do you
thing.
handle that?
I know that that's the environment I do the best in. You know, if me and Holly were fighting alone in some high school gym, I wouldn't do nearly as well as if we had 70,000 people and all that pressure and cameras. Like I don't get scared of how nervous I get and all the pressure and all of the attention and the crowds and everything, because I know in my heart that that's when I do best. And so I don't feel bad that, like, oh no, is it bad that my heart's beating this fast, or that I'm breathing this hard, or, you know, is that a bad thing? I don't second guess myself. I remind myself these are the good things. This is what I'm best at. This is where I belong. This is my environment, and I don't shy away from it.
So after the fight with Betch, you know, there were all kinds of memes, all kinds of gifs about the way she landed, the way you finished her. You know, a lot of people hadn't spoken that badly about you, maybe only one other fighter. How satisfying was that win for you, especially too going down to Brazil? Just how good did that feel to put her away?
Felt good to do it in a specific way. You know, I really wanted to knock her out, especially because all the things people have been saying that she was saying that, oh, you better live up to your promise and stand up and fight and not just try to grapple with me. And I was like, fine. And I really did. That was my version of trying to drag it out. I really did, because like I swept her under the ground. I didn't follow her on the ground. I let her stand back up. You know, she tried to close into a clinch. I broke the clinch and kept striking again. And it's crazy. Edmund, like, he calls it every fight. Like, he really does call it. And he was saying in that fight, it's like, she's gonna be flat on her face. You're gonna knock her on her face. She's gonna fall forward. And I was like, all right, come on, like. That'd be nice, but you know, I wasn't really believing it, and then until it actually happened, and I was like, damn, like that's like the 4th time in a row he called exactly how it was gonna go down. I don't know how he does it, but yeah, it was pretty satisfying, to say the least.
And I have another question. You know, I was watching one of these entertainment shows, and Helena Christensen was on, this actress, and the host had said, "Oh, you look a little bit like Ronda Rousey." And she said, yeah, you know, at first I didn't like that, or I didn't know who she was, and now I'm into it, and now I think it's a real compliment. I'm just curious, have you ever been, there's a part of me that's like, oh wait, everybody knows about her now. I forgot she's not just our girl anymore. have you had any moments, you know what I mean, when you're watching TV and your name comes up, or something where you even are taken aback by the fact that you become such a household name?
I don't watch, like, most of the TV that I watch is like I record like Ancient Aliens, so I'm not like in those commercials. So I don't really see it too much. I don't know, like I really kind of try and separate myself from it as much as possible. It's like, you know, if we're watching fights and I'm on the commercial for the fight, so I'm like, well, whatever, you know, there's fight commercials, of course. So I think the thing that kind of blew me back was the mural in Venice. Yeah, the first one. Because, you know, I grew up in Venice, and like street art is really a big thing there. And, you know, like Jim Morrison is like, you know, and there's the big Jim Morrison, and it's kind of, when I saw that, at first I told Dana, I was like, Dana, did you see that? Like, there was a mural in Venice, it feels so cool. He was like, yeah, we paid for that. And I was like, oh. But then I found out later that they actually paid for another one later, and that one was actually painted by a really reputable, you know, street artist that I happened to go to high school with, and like, you know, I thought the one that they paid for was very, very cool too, especially because it was right on top of like the Green Doctor, which I thought was hilarious. Yeah, I was like, I like that spot. Sit right there. It's a good spot. But yeah, at first I was like super stoked about it, and then he totally burst my bubble, and then I was like, oh no, it's for real. It's for real. And yeah, that's the thing that that really kind of gets me is the street art. And now we have one of those electrical boxes. There's one spray painted somewhere else. Like, that's the more surreal, I think, that any media is really seeing, like the people and the locals and the culture, and kind of embracing everything that's going on.
Mentioning the Green Doctor, what are your thoughts on Nick Diaz's 5-year suspension?
I mean, I thought I made it pretty well known. I just, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of, like, say you got a parking ticket and you didn't pay for it, and then you got another parking ticket and you didn't pay for it. No matter how many parking tickets you get, and no matter how long you don't pay for it, you never deserve life in prison. You know, like, yeah, you could be a repeat offender, and you could not be paying it, and whatever. You could do all of the worst things that could ever be associated with parking tickets, but in the end of the day, it's a parking ticket, and you don't deserve to, like, you know, be in life in jail. And they're pretty much trying to, like, keep him from fighting ever again. I mean, that's like the rest. Like, 5 years is really like the rest of, like, the shelf life that he has. And I think that punishment is cruel. And people know that. I don't think that they should be testing for weed at all. It has nothing to do with sports. And they keep saying, like, oh, it's for the safety of the fighter, to make sure the fighter doesn't go out there, you know, high and get injured. And like, really? Then why aren't you testing us to make sure we're not drunk? Why are they testing for one thing, not the other? You know, you should test for performance-enhancing drugs only.
A few players come out and said they wouldn't fight in Nevada unless the decision got overturned. But you're Ronda Rousey. If you would say that it would be a really big deal. Would you not fight in Nevada?
I'd still fight Nevada because I don't think Nevada would care. I think they got enough going on without me. They were doing just fine before I showed up. And I have full confidence in, in the system, and that, I think that their White House petition did get enough signatures, right? And, I think they're going to end up appealing it, and I think that the right decision will be reached in the long run.
Ronda, how much is your freedom limited now by your celebrity?
My freedom?
Yeah.
It's more limited by like how much stuff I have to do.
But could you walk out the front door and not be, I saw TMZ caught you one day.
I mean, in Venice, it's kind of like, that's why I really love that area so much, is because it's like, it's such a part of the local culture that everyone wants to be like local and cool about everything. So you just don't want to make a big deal about seeing a celebrity, Like, people just usually just say hi. If I'm walking down the street, people are like, hey, hey, what's up, what's up, what's up? I just kind of like feel like Belle from the first scene of Beauty and the Beast. I'm like, bonjour, 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 bonjour. Like, it's more like that. It's not like, I'm getting chased anywhere, and,
So you can still do what you want to do, walk into a coffee shop or go shopping and not have...
I mean, I don't have much time to go shopping, but yeah, my best friend works at, coffee shop down the street. I go in there all the time. It's cool. People say hi, I say what's up, and that's pretty much, pretty much it. It's not a big deal.
Ronda, let's talk.
Hi.
Do you feel like you have a little bit of Latino in you?
Over here.
Venezuelans won a ton of beauty pageants, and then they're good boxers too.
I mean, I'm half Venezuelan. I'm more Venezuelan than anything else.
Esa era mi pregunta.
And it's kind of cool that like when I went to school, like no one would really believe me that I was Latina, so I never really said anything because I didn't really look like it. I was like the gringo of the family, and but I would tell people like when I started doing MMA, I'm like, listen, we got the most Miss Universes, and we got some great boxers. It just makes sense.
So you go for the boxing then you.
Sorry, what?
You go for the boxing side.
I'd like to someday. We'll see. We'll see.
What else do you know about Latino culture or more Venezuelan culture?
More Venezuelan culture?
Yeah, besides women's and pretty women's and...
Eat guinea pigs. I mean, that's why I've got a bunch of guinea pigs in my house. Not to eat, but my mom's like, oh, it's part of our culture, and plus, my family's actually, I don't talk about religion very much, but my family's very Catholic, and I feel like I really got my faith from, my heritage, and it's a big part of who I am.
What about the music?
My Spanish? Oh, my
Your Spanish? What about that?
It took me forever to learn English. Like, I had a really hard time learning English. So, like, my sisters speak Spanish. My mom does.
What about the Latino music? Or nothing? Latino music? Nothing? Do you like it?
My last training camp, I listened to like Hector Lavoe like the whole time. That was like my playlist. I still like listening to it because Edmund says that's the rhythm of boxing. It's Hector Lavoe. So his family was nice enough to send me a bunch of like posters and T-shirts and all that stuff because I was just listening to it nonstop.
Ronda, you've expressed interest in.
Go ahead.
You've expressed interest in liking superheroes, and a lot of Hollywood is coming out that the representation is very over-sexualized. What do you think about the portrayal in media
of
superhero women?
Superhero women?
Women, yeah.
I mean, the guys have like 16 packs. I mean, it's very much like an over-idealized idea of what a human being should be, and so I think that the male superheroes are overly masculinized, and the women are overly feminized, and I think that's just part of like the whole superhero universe, really.
Ronda, so a lot of like issues that have nothing to do with the fight seem to come up more and more the bigger your name gets. Is that something that motivates you more because you're always looking for that next challenge to show people this doesn't affect you, or is it something that you block out so that you can?
That kind of stuff, it just makes me more thankful that I have fighting, because this is the place where I keep my focus and my sanity, and whatever kind of crazy things are happening outside of fighting, it just makes me want to go inside the gym more, because that's really my escape from all that. I don't want to like sit on the couch and like, if I could sit on the couch and get anxious about all kinds of things, and the way that I vent it out and I treat myself, and my medicine is to come back in here and to focus and fight, and the crazier everything is, the more I want to be in here and the more focused I do get, because it's a time where I'm entirely in the present moment and none of those things exist anymore. That's the only way I can get away from them is when I'm in here. And so no, it's like it's kind of weird. It's like the more chaotic everything is outside, the better I do in fights. And you know, the best performances that I've ever had, I was in the most emotional turmoil beforehand because it's just like, this is what I do to be able to fix myself.
So are you saying you're in an emotional turmoil state?
Oh my God, every fight. That's why I started talking about the pre-fight chaos. Oh my God. I mean, I don't know if any of you guys could sit right here and keep your shit together, I would be really impressed. It's tricky sometimes, but you know, like every single day I come in here, you know, I just have a first name in here. And that's my way, like this is my sanctuary from everything, and fighting is my sanctuary from all of that. And it's not like I feel like the fighting afflicts it on me. My fighting is like almost my escape from it.
You have an amazing, obviously, fighting career in athletics and everything, but now you're getting into Hollywood. What's your favorite part about movies in Hollywood?
My favorite part, I think, is just the challenge of learning a new skill from scratch. You know, I kind of got to a point in judo where I wasn't learning anything new anymore. I was just learning how to do things I already knew a little bit better.
I know.
And in MMA, you know, I know I'm not going to be able. There's so many aspects of the sport that I don't feel like I'll ever have that good of a handle on it. But I'm getting close to that, and I think that kind of starting from zero and learning a skill all over again, it really keeps me interested and motivated, and I feel like I have to prove myself all over again. You know, I feel like I've proved myself in judo, and I proved myself in, you know, MMA mostly, and when I don't want to run out of goals after that and have nothing to do anymore, and so I want to have a new place where everybody doubts me and I have something new to prove.
Ronda, somebody at Periscope is asking if you were to be a Marvel hero, which one would it be?
Me?
And
I've been Miss
why?
Marvel. I've been Miss Marvel. Why? Because, I don't know, she's badass. She looks like me and she's not taken.
Rhonda, how is your state of mind different with this upcoming fight as opposed to with that?
The money.
I mean, every fight's different. I think more of the distractions aren't coming from the fight itself, but you know, from the whole world. But there's been fights where it's been like that before. This one kind of reminds me a lot of, like, I don't know. I mean, I've had similar situations like this before where, you know, I feel like I'm getting pulled in a million directions at once, and I'm trying to stay centered on the one thing and just the fight. Whereas I think the Betch fight, it was like all of my attention was being pulled towards the fight, but all the stuff that didn't have to do with the fight itself. And so, I don't know. It's every single one gives me a new opportunity to really kind of practice a new way to keep my focus.
Hey, Rhonda, diet? What do you typically eat? Breakfast, lunch, dinner? Is there like a calorie goal?
I mean, Mike Dolce does all of my diet, everything, and so he sends me new diets all the time. And I don't even know what I'm eating for dinner tonight because it's like set out in a schedule, and I have to, like, usually I get home, I like check my phone, and, like, you know, someone was cool enough to make sure that all of the groceries are in. So I know that the ingredients are there. I just don't know where anything is, but I don't know what I'm eating, and so usually I get home like, okay, what the hell is happening? And then I look at it and I play scavenger hunt and I find everything and then put it together. So like yesterday I had I call it chia bowl. It's like chia seeds, hemp seeds, oats, almond butter, agave nectar, cinnamon raisins, and then I eat that and rush off training, and then I have like some sort of like egg scramble in the afternoon. I think now we're doing like 1 full egg with 2 egg whites and then some like other vegetables and stuff in there. And then last night I had like salmon and veggies, but like that was the first time I had salmon and veggies or something, you know. So I learned how to poach eggs this Saturday. I'm like, yeah, I got like the YouTube video out and like, so I'm learning how to cook too, actually, weirdly enough. So I'm trying, you know, I don't cook well, but I cook to the point where it's like nutritious and not poisonous. So like, yeah, Yeah, right? I'll get to the point someday where maybe I'll be like, oh, have you tried my poached eggs? But, not there yet.
Hey, Rhonda, what about wanting to be remembered as one of the greatest of all time? You're talking about 3 title fights in 9 months. You're easily the most famous female fighter in the world. You're probably the most famous fighter in the world right now. How does that feel?
I don't know, man. I just, you know what it is? I don't feel it until right after I win, because I feel like it's all in peril right now. And until I beat Holly, I can't revel in anything. I have to beat Holly first, and then I have that moment where I finally get away from everybody, and I have to go take a shower, and it's my first time alone, and I just look into the mirror, and I'm like, what the hell did you just do today? What happened? That every single fight. I remember the last fight after everything was benched and she knocks out and everyone goes wow. Then it's Brazil, but they're still cheering for me and everything's crazy. And then I finally get and same thing after the Zingano fight. I just get that moment where I'm I just look myself in the mirror. Sometimes you look at yourself in the mirror, you don't really look, but I really look, and I'm like, what are you doing? What are you getting yourself into? How did that just happen today? And then it's so quiet. It's so quiet that your ears ring, and it just makes you it's hard to absorb all of it. But that's the one moment where I really kind of am Jesus Christ, how did you get here? And but it's a happy moment too, It's overwhelming happiness, and I can't afford to feel that every day, because I always have some new person trying to take that away from me. And so I don't allow myself to feel it until I've vanquished the next one, and then I have my little giggly shower, moment. I'm not looking at myself naked in the mirror, by the way, if you were thinking. Shower in the mirror. This is before, because I still have my stuff on. I don't take my fight stuff, So I just realized that image you could have taken it a lot of ways, but
Rhonda, with your last fight, there was some bad feelings between you and Betch because of things she has said on social media. With Holly, what are your overall feelings towards her as a fighter?
As a fighter?
And as a person?
As a person, she seems like a very, very nice person. She's a sweet girl, and she's the kind of person after I beat her and she makes a lot of money, I'm like, good for her. You buy yourself an Albuquerque house with that, It was the last chick I was she was a big old bitch, and I kicked her ass. She made a lot of money, and I'm like, oh well, whatever, have fun with that. And but with Holly, I'll generally be happy for her, and hope that she has, she accepts her loss in a healthy way, and enjoys all the benefits that she got from this fight, and probably, I think that she'll really enjoy her life a lot more, not, the life of a champion, I think, isn't for everybody, and I think that the life of a contender it's a lot nicer in a lot of ways, and I think that a lot of these girls don't realize until they're the contender and they get all that extra pressure put on that they don't really want that life. And I think this kind of environment isn't what Holly would like, and I hope that she takes the money that she gets for losing and has a great life that she would like a lot more than this one.
Ronda, do you see the future getting closer to the community, helping in programs and doing something else for the community?
Do I feel like doing
it? Do you see the future, you getting even closer to the community and helping in programs?
Yeah, I would like to do more. I mean, I try to do as much as possible, but I always try to get more involved all the time. And my favorite project right now is with Gompers Middle School in Watts, and it's now the longest running after school program that's ever been at the school. And I started teaching it for free after the last Olympics. My sister was she was studying to get her master's there under Mr. Gonzalez, and she brought me in as she was teaching history, and so she brought me in for a lecture she had on Bushido martial arts, and I was picking her up over my shoulder, and all the kids were really into it. So I started doing after school judo program for them on Fridays, and then my mom ended up taking it over. After MMA really became too much, and now we have fundraisers for them. We send them around the tournaments, and we've had a lot of people that are nice enough to donate mats. Now they have their own judo room, they have their own dojo in the school, and every single kid has brand new gis, and it's really amazing to really see how the program's progressed, and a lot of the kids have ended up going on to really prestigious high schools, and they still come back even after they've graduated from middle school and still train with us. And it's just really, it's a real privilege to see these kids over the years, how they do and how judo really benefits their life in a positive way.
So Roadhouse is a big deal. You're taking on the Swayze's role. Yeah. And I feel like on one hand you think, oh, this is awesome, this is a no-brainer, I want to do it, but at the same time, it's a beloved movie for the fan base that it has. So, any trepidation when you took that?
It's a lot of pressure. It's not something that I took. It's something that I pursued for 2 years. I was like, I want to Roadhouse, Roadhouse, and there's a lot of pressure because it is such a beloved movie and a cult classic, and everybody loves it. And but that's one reason why I wanted to do it so much, because I don't think anybody else would care as much as I do about it and want to do a good job as much as I do. And I really think that there's no way that any other man could possibly be the Sways. You would have to you'd have to reimagine it in some way, because no one's ever going to live up to him. And so I thought that doing it, rethinking the role as a female character would also be a really cool way to modernize it, because before the whole ongoing I thought you'd be bigger thing, I mean, it really was a theme throughout the movie, and I think that that's a way to really make it a lot more like I said, modern. And I always just loved it so much because I've always been obsessed with martial arts movies, and I grew up watching westerns with my dad, and I really felt like it was the perfect hybrid between a western and martial arts film. And I'm going to do the best that I can do, and that's the best that I could do, but I am really confident that this is going to be a project that everybody that loved the original and Swayze's whole family could really be proud of and enjoy.
And the Sam Elliott role, did you have somebody in mind when you were kind of trying to get this movie to go?
So, sorry, what?
The Sam Elliott role? You know what I mean? Do you know do they already cast that? Do you have somebody in mind you want?
No, not yet. I just, we have Nick Cassavetes is writing and directing, and I'm sure that me and him are going to, I haven't seen even, I think that they're still in the writing process, so I'll really just have to see how he actually wrote the reimagining of it and see what we both think will fit.
And you mentioned the Swayze family. Have you spoken with them at all about it, or anything?
A little bit before we even released it at all. I wanted to have an opportunity to speak with his widow, and I really wanted to get a chance to meet with her in person, but then this fight got moved up and everything, so I'm going to, if they'd like to see me, I would like to really talk to them and see what they would like in the Roadhouse remake. So, we'll see.
Do you have time to do acting? I mean, obviously acting is being shaped as one of the main things you're going to be transitioning into. Do you take acting classes and kind of take the same approach to martial arts and do it?
Yeah. I have an acting coach, just like I coach everything else, and I take a lot of advice that's been given to me through the roles that I've had so far. And one good one that Sloan gave me is to read orally. So I'm read orally all the time now, which is kind of annoying for everyone around me. Sit down here so I could read this to you, And my little sister is also is getting into it too. So I practice her. I practice a lot, and but when it's appropriate, when it's fight time, I focus just on the fight, and when it's not, then I try to get as much practice in as possible.
Ronda, who's your favorite UFC fighter, and also would you coach again in Ultimate Fighter?
I would not coach again in Ultimate Fighter. My favorite UFC fighter right now? Ooh. I think Mighty Mouse is my favorite right now. So I think he's the most well-rounded and so fast, and he kind of reminds me of those scenes in Dragon Ball Z where they're moving so fast that there's little blurs and you can see him still for a second and then blur again. I think he's awesome. He's really cool to watch fight, and I get a lot of good ideas from him when I watch his transitions from standing into the ground are just amazing. I love it.
What did Junior think of the commercial?
she liked it. She liked it. She's very modest though. She wasn't just like, oh, I'm so awesome, you know. But I was just freaking out about her, you know. Like she really, I think, is a natural. And but now she's just she's got accepted into college. My God, I'm soccer scholarship. So she's grown up. She was. I think she was proud of it though. I was really happy she was involved. It's hard to spend time with my family these days, so involving them in my work is one of my favorite things to do, so that I can just be able to see them more.
Rhonda, going back to Dragon Ball Z, you once said that you had a crush on Vegeta. If you could fuse with him, how would you kind of allow him to do? How would you sorry. How would you convince him to fuse with you?
How would I convince him to fuse with me? I mean, they've never done any like cross-gender fusing, you know, and like I don't know if I want to be like a hermaphroditic like Vegeta. So I don't know if I'd want to fuse. I don't know. But seriously though, how would that work out? I don't know. Would it just be like nothing, or would it just be like a mesh? I don't know.
Probably a mesh.
That's just, yeah. I don't think that's attractive. I wouldn't be into it. I wouldn't try to convince them. I'd just leave it. I'd let it lie.
The first time you're going to be fighting actually in the morning or early afternoon in Australia, what precautions do you see curtailing your rest of your training camp to fight in that?
Oh well, when I did judo, it was always like that. I would weigh in that morning and then fight like an hour and a half after that. So if anything, I have more experience with that format than she or anybody else does. And you know, we actually get to go there like 2 weeks early to acclimate and then do it. So I was used to, back in the judo days, you'd have to cut weight while flying in like the cheapest ticket possible. So you have 15 connections and 6-hour layovers and all these kinds of things. And you'd finally get there. You'd have like one night, a couple hours to make weight. You make weight, and then an hour and a half later, you're fighting all day. And so this seems pretty, you know, like I'm kind of get spoiled, where it's like you get to show up 2 weeks early, and then you can, you know, adjust your sleep schedule to whatever. And ever since I was a kid, I was taught to wake up and then go fight. Like even when I did judo tournaments as a kid, I would nap in between matches. So I would fight, I would go take a nap, wake up, and then fight. And, you know, and same thing when I fight now. I go into the locker room, I lay down and take a nap first, and they wake me up. I do a very short warm up, and I go. And so. And when I train here in the morning, I have my sparrings in the morning, and so it's the same thing. I wake up and then I go and I fight. And if anything, that's what I'm the most comfortable with.
Rhonda,
Give us.
athletes say they're motivated by the fear of failure, but I've never ever heard you and had that sense that you allow fear to creep into your mind.
I'm full of fear, but I don't have any doubt. There's a big difference. I'm so fearful that I train harder than any of these girls could. But I don't doubt for 1 second that I'm capable of succeeding.
Rhonda, can you give us a Rhonda face?
What?
Like, a Rhonda face? Like,
A
do I go
Rhonda
into
face?
the octagon?
Just like a panning one?
No. Just right here in front.
Oh God, on command? I don't know. It's hard. I have to have someone to look at. I'm thinking something when I'm looking.
What are you thinking when you are going to the octagon?
What?
What are you thinking when you are going to the...
I'm thinking like I'm impatient. I just want to hurry up. That's why I'm walking so fast. I don't want to run and get myself like winded by the time I get there. So I'm like power walking, because I wish I could just teleport from the locker room to in the octagon. They say go, but you know, I gotta walk to here and then make me stop and make me listen to her lane song, and then I gotta sit and wait, and then like my song comes out, I'm like, okay, finally, and then I go and I have this whole long thing, and then usually this camera guy is walking backwards in front of me, but I'm like going as fast as I can. He's usually tripping all over himself because he's being pulled backward. You have no idea how many cameramen have fallen down. I've had to step over them because I gotta go.
No one is gonna move here, so just give us
the lame
face? I go.
That's a bad one. I'm probably
that.
the mean duck face.
That's it. That's what.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you.